Nickel City Mafia, what is up? I am Chris Caldwell, my co-host Jeremy Ness. What's up, Jeremy?
Hey, what's going on?
Special episode this week. Typically, what we do is, do a recap of the previous week's games, talk about buy low, sell high, waiver wire. We're kind of scrapping that this week. This week is purely going to be strategy based. We're entering week 12. Most fantasy playoffs start week 15,
Yeah.
15, 16, 17. So we're in crunch time. We have 3 or 4 weeks left of regular season, and it is time to prepare for fantasy playoffs. That's where we make our money. And we need to take advantage if we're in a good spot in our league and prep for the stretch run. So, why don't you lead it off? Tell us a little bit about kind of some strategies you're employing, not player specific, just in general, what you're kind of looking to do these next couple of weeks.
So my number one strategy, it's if you have a defense, look towards your defenses in the playoffs. So that's kind of been my strategy lately, and it's just been kind of figuring out if you're lucky and you have one of the top defenses already. So you have Chiefs, Broncos, the Minnesota's been really good. A top 3 defense. Then you kind of don't need to worry about it too much, right? Unless they have a one really tough matchup, maybe you stream for 1 week and you hold on to that defense. But if you've been streaming defenses like I like to do a lot, then you're looking to see what team can I grab and then not have to worry about when the playoffs come, having scrambling around for a defense. And you're doing 2 things. You're making sure you have a great defense to get you through the playoffs, and you're taking away a defense from your opponents that they can pick up. So sometimes even grabbing 2 or 3 defenses. If you have bench room for it, it's a good strategy to take, anyone that has good matchups in the playoffs. I just grabbed Tampa Bay is one I like, so I grabbed them. And then they have a bad week 15 matchup against the Chargers, so I took the Ravens, who get the Giants. So I know I have my playoff set, and Tampa Bay also has just the cushiest schedule the rest of the season, so I can probably start them most of the time.
Yeah, that's I like what you said about grabbing 2 and kind of paying attention to when one might have a dud matchup, the other one has a really good matchup. And honestly, at this point in the year, this week or next week, I'd grab at least 2. And if you can manage to grab 3, like you said, it's like addition by subtraction, because, then your league mates can't pick them up. And you'll be surprised how many people don't think about a defense until the week of. So you can kind of get one step ahead there. I dig that strategy a lot.
I think too, you don't have to go and grab a top 5 defense. You don't have to worry about getting a top 5 or even a top 10 defense. Just look at the next few weeks, look at the playoff weeks 15, 16, 17, see which teams are playing against a team that has a terrible quarterback. Because generally, if you know the team's going to have a bad quarterback that's going to be dropping back a lot, the defense going against them probably going to be pretty successful and at least net you that 5 to 10 points, which makes them in the top 10 defense range for the week, which is all you need. You don't. We don't know which defense is going to run back a touchdown. You can't. You don't know that at all. So it's worth just grabbing whichever one, And for example, right now, the Cowboys are rolling out Cooper Rush. So whoever the Cowboys are playing against, I probably want to grab that defense. Similar situation in New York. Whoever New York's playing against, it's going to be a good defense to grab when they have quarterbacks like that. And heck, we might even see Trey Lance in the fantasy playoffs. Trey Lance playing, and that would be a good time to grab the defense he's against.
Yeah, I'm wondering, what's keeping the Cowboys from starting Trey Lance? I mean, their season is totally tanked.
Jerry Jones is a terrible owner. He is a great businessman. The Cowboys make so much freaking money. It's insane, but just a terrible owner. You can see it now. For a while there were excuses, right? Players choked. This happened. Blah blah blah. No, there's just not good excuses. They're a terrible team. And I'm, as a Washington fan, it makes me happy. So spending all that money to be very bad. But it sucks for fantasy, right? We want to see CeeDee Lamb be awesome. We want to see Jake Ferguson come back, who's probably out this week, and be awesome. And Dak, too, was a good fantasy player, and now he's done for the season. So, yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah. So, good strategy about, prepping with the defenses. I'm going to do that as well. Kind of already started to pick up a few that I like. And I remember we're in a lot of the same leagues together. You kind of beat me to the punch last year. You kind of went for it like a week before I did. So I learned my lesson there. I'm already starting to hoard them a little bit. So my main strategy right now is if I am in, call it the top three, maybe top four in the league, I am trying to trade four like hammer players that are on bye this week, like right now. So this week is like week 12 is like the worst when it comes to buys. There's tons of people out there that you can target. So all the teams in your league that are anywhere from fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth place, probably more like seventh and eighth place are getting pretty desperate right now. All you have to do, shoot them a message and say, "Hey, bud, you can't lose another game. You gotta win." And target Josh Allen, target Jamar Chase, target Garrett Wilson, target Drake London, target Alvin Kamara. So Buffalo, Cincy, Jets, Atlanta, NOLA, and Jacksonville all on bye. So there's tons of good players out there. James Cook, Chase Brown. And I would just, if you're in the top, if you're first or second, you have no excuse not to do this. You just take any warm body on your team, maybe two of them, and send them off to a team that's just getting crushed by buys and level up. And you can afford to take a loss and level up for that playoff run. I mentioned Chase Brown. He's like probably my number one buy right now because he's on a bye week. His schedule is juicy and his usage is like through the roof. So I don't really know. I can probably count on one hand how many running backs I'd rather have than Chase Brown the rest of season.
Yeah, that's a good point. Chase Brown has just been a workhorse for them, and they even brought in Khalil Herbert, and he's done nothing. We've just still seen Chase Brown get everything. Yeah. So, and who knows if that changes? That I was going to talk about it a little bit later, but the trouble with Cincinnati is if they lose one more game, they're probably eliminated from the playoffs. And then like it could suck for fantasy implications. They could start benching players. We could start seeing backups go in. That could be a little frustrating. It's just something to keep an eye on and watch. I mean, hopefully that doesn't happen. You don't want to see teams do that. But if they lose one and get eliminated from the playoffs, what's the point of them, playing the starters and trying to win?
I think losing two would eliminate them. I'm not sure losing their next game would. I mean, what's their record? Are they 4-7?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And also, while we were talking, Nick Chubb touchdown. So Nick Chubb coming back.
Oh wow, good for him.
Yeah, that is another like it's a little late now because they're playing, but say if some of the Browns have a good game this game, trade any Cleveland players you can. They have the toughest schedule the rest of the season, so you can get anything for them. They just have a really really hard matchups going forward.
Gotcha. Any other strategies you're employing or certain players that you're trying to trade for to prep for the playoffs?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about Tampa Bay, how great their defense is going to be just because their matchups. It's the same thing with the offense, right? Baker has a phenomenal quarterback matchups coming up. They get the Giants, the Panthers, the Raiders. The Chargers aren't the best matchup, but for quarterbacks, they're not bad. And then they get Cowboys and Panthers again. So Baker could go crazy. He gets Mike Evans back this week too, on top of that. So Baker, Kate Otton's been filling in. So I think Kate Otton's a good grab. But Baker, Mike Evans, Bucky Irving, and Rachaad White are all grabs. And Rachaad White and Bucky Irving, if for some reason one of them is floating around, you need to grab it because if one goes down, the other one immediately gets a lot better. I think you're more if like Rachaad White goes down, Bucky Irving is like an immediate like top tier running back. Whereas if like Bucky Irving goes down, they have Sean Tucker to kind of fill in that role a little bit. But it's that they're both all those guys should need to be owned, and like I think you should be trying to trade for to make.
I'm glad you mentioned Mike Evans. I don't know that he's 100% playing this week, and actually, if he doesn't, I think it's like the best buy in the NFL right now because no one's seen him play for a month, and people are human. They like to see highlights, and they haven't seen anything on Mike Evans. You just talked about how good his matchups are. And if he's out again this week, like say they announce it tomorrow or Saturday, just go all in because his matchups are amazing. Chris Godwin's out for the year, and it's just going to be Mike Evans' show the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season. They're in a playoff race. He's going to get fed the ball. I actually am like fingers crossed. I don't own any Mike Evans right now. I'm fingers crossed that he doesn't play this week and I can get him from someone who's desperate.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a pro move. I don't have too many other strategies I'm putting into effect right now besides like kind of going after those players. And then like you talked about going after hammers. On my buy list, I think Kyron Williams, a guy I was not crazy about at the beginning of the year, but he has just been a complete workhorse for them. He's a guy to go after. I think on the Niners, we have Debo and Kittle both there. Both are going to see a lot of targets, going to get a lot of work there.
You worried about Debo at all?
I mean, a little, but I think like it'll come. Like he's too talented, and with Ayuk not playing, I just think he's going to get more points, more looks. I'm not too worried. And then AJ Brown too. Maybe the owner's a little frustrated because he hasn't been like amazing, but he's still very good. And Philly is another team that has one of the easiest schedules going the rest of the season. It's really like crazy how easy their schedule is too. So I kind of like all that. And then you and I have talked on the show many, many times about backup running backs. And that right now, like if you have an extra tight end on your bench that you no longer need, drop them for a backup running back.
Yep. I just picked up
have
today in a league because I was like,
picked up who? Sorry.
Kenneth Gainwell.
Yeah. Or
because
Cam Akers, if like in a deep league, Cam Akers, like he's out playing Ty Chandler right now. So why not? Right. It's, guys like that where like they're making zero difference right now, but something happens and they're immediately, you're in the playoffs. You have like this huge advantage because you just had this player sitting on your bench. And there's a bunch of guys like that just sitting around there, Tank Bigsby on the Jags, if something happens to ETN again, he's right up in there. We saw him do really well. So there's a lot of guys you can grab like that. Jalen Warren, he's actually getting some run in this game right now because I think Najee's not 100% maybe, or who knows. They like to switch it up there.
Jalen Wright, Roshan Johnson, stuff like that.
Yeah, Blake Corum. We talked about Kyron. Blake Corum. They've pretty much got rid of, was it Ronnie Rivers, I think was the guy there. He's seeing nothing, and Blake Corum is getting, if they give it to anybody, it's Blake Corum besides Kyron, but it's mostly all Kyron going right now. So I like Blake Corum, and then Trey Benson on Arizona. Something happens to James Conner, he's clear the number 2. He's going to get all the full workload there. So I just think that's like a huge strategy that not enough people do, like especially home leagues. So many home leagues where you have bench space and you just see all these back running backs sitting on the waiver wire. If your team set, you've made it through this by Mageddon, by apocalypse thing, then fill it up with all these backup running backs.
Yeah, fully agree. Yeah, I think we talk about this just about every show.
Yeah.
If it's a 1 QB league and you have 2 QBs, you're doing it wrong. If it's a 1 tight end league that's not a tight end premium league and you have 2 tight ends and the second tight end is Noah Fant, you're doing it wrong. Yeah. I mean, unless you have an absolute, top 8 hammer at the position as your second player at the one-off positions, QB and tight end, you don't hold 2 of them ever. So just please fix that. Just get a player where if an injury happens in front of them, they could go off. Typically that happens more at running back than wide receiver. So yeah, I love that. Just load up on backup running backs, anyone you can. Yeah. I'll just throw like a player and a team at you that's kind of off cuff that I'm having my eye on because in one of my leagues this week, I'm actually starting because by apocalypse got me so bad. I'm starting Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, and I'm actually not mad at it because the Titans have a cupcake matchup this week, and their next 5 weeks, I'm a big, sleeper player, so it shows things green, yellow, red, bright green. The rest of the way, bright green. So I'm wondering, Calvin Ridley, is he a buy to you?
Yeah, I think so for the rest of the season. Again, I would not have said this after like the first quarter of the season, right? I would have been
So
like, "There's
bad.
just no way you shouldn't be buying him." But no, I think rest of the season he is a buy. With DeAndre Hopkins gone, he's a clear number one target hog there. I just think he's someone you can definitely put in your lineup every week. Will Levis isn't playing as bad as he was before, and maybe it's the matchups. I don't know, but at least we're getting the ball to Ridley. So, and like you said, yeah, they have a pretty nice schedule going forward for quarterbacks.
Agreed.
So one guy I had on my list actually was Bo Nix.
Mm-hmm. I like
He gets
that.
a great playoff schedule. If you're like streaming quarterbacks or your quarterback has a terrible matchup in the playoffs and you want to take a risk with Bo Nix, he gets the Colts, the Chargers, and the Bengals, which are all like quarterback friendly defenses for the most part. Chargers are pretty good, but quarterbacks do pretty decent against them.
and
We'll
he's
see how
looked
Lamar does
absolutely
Monday
amazing.
night.
The last 3 or 4 weeks,
Yeah,
he's just looked really, really good.
and it's quiet. No one's really talking about him. It's weird. If he has a few more games like he's been having, I think he has to be up there with rookie there with Jaden Daniels, because Jaden Daniels has had a couple bad games. He's also played 2 good teams. So,
QBs I was kind of looking to target. You already mentioned one of them. Baker Mayfield was kind of like the big. I don't even want to say under the radar because I think he's around top 5-ish on points so far this year. Kyler Murray, I feel like there hasn't been a whole lot of buzz about him. He has a great schedule rest of the season. You already mentioned Bo Nix. Kirk Cousins hasn't really played well, but his schedule's really easy moving forward. So
and it's like wide open in that division for the playoffs.
yes.
So it makes all those teams exciting to like have on your fantasy team because your players are going to play like to the bitter end. Those fantasy players are going to play. Carolina Thielen's back this week. If you need if you're super deep with Mageddon, Thielen's like a random. Who knows how much he's going to play and stuff, but yeah, he's been good for them.
And you made a really good point. This might be thinking too far ahead, but you made a really good point about wanting players on teams that are in the thick of the playoff race, because week 17 now, second to last week of the NFL season, is the fantasy championship where we're playing for the big bucks. A lot of times the win or lose in the last week is a big difference in money.
Oh yeah.
Right. And we need players on teams that are playing for their lives because NFL teams cut out all the stops in the last couple weeks of the year. They, throw out the playbook and just feed their best players to win the games. So it's really important to have players that are in the playoff race. And I know it's a little bit hard to predict because we're only in week 12, but typically I like to go for, not players on the Panthers, and maybe the Chiefs could lock up the number 1 seed by week 16, right?
Yeah.
So stuff like that in the next week or two here, you need to start really paying attention to.
Absolutely, and we'll start to hear too when it gets a little closer. Like if we think teams are going to start benching players, or what they're going to do to rest. And typically, they made it on purpose. Like the last week is divisional games and stuff, so that teams are less likely to rest their players. But it's still something that happens every year. There's always a team that's up there, and once they clinch, what good is it to play those players the last couple of weeks? Let them have some rest, or they only play them for a quarter or something, and it unfortunately sucks for us, but it's good for the teams, I guess.
Right.
So we'll just have to see what happens when it gets there. Like I was saying earlier, I have a worry about that with the Bengals. If the Bengals end up out of it completely, does Jamar Chase stop playing? Does T. Higgins stop playing? Do we see them put in some backups and stuff, and just the rest of the season doesn't matter? And that sucks for Jamar Chase, number 1 overall wide receiver. You lose him at the playoffs. That would be the worst.
Yeah, gosh, I can see them doing that for the last week of the season, but holding out, how many times have we seen a player hold out, earlier than just the last game? I don't know. I just can't think of when it's happened recently.
Yeah, I don't know. It might not happen. It might not be a big deal. Um, one strategy I heard to try to like, I guess, combat it is to pick up Yoshivas or Jermaine Burton and have them on your bench because like if he does sit or they decide to bench him or whatever, then those are the guys that are going to play. And we've seen Yoshivas do pretty well, and Burton's kind of a unknown rookie but talented.
Mm-hmm. Cool. You have any specific players you're looking to sell, or specific players that you're looking to buy that you're like actively trying to move or purchase?
Yeah, we talked a little bit. Like I think Kittle for the Niners, which you just got in one of our leagues. But Kittle is a great pickup. He could be the number one tight end the rest of the season with San Fran because they're another team who's battling for a playoff spot. They started off good, but they're like just not at the top right now, and they really need to work for it. And I think Kittle's going to be a big part of that. They're saying he's going to play this Sunday. We'll see. Um, I'm trying to sell. We talked earlier. I'm trying to sell Cleveland. If you got Tillman on your team who's been crushing it for you, or Nick Chubb's having a decent game today or something, and you can or Jerry Jeudy, somebody like that. If somebody wants to buy him from you or some kind of package to get rid of him, I think now is the perfect time to do that. Just because the schedule looks so tough going forward, I don't think it's going to be great to have them on your team.
Agree. I actually I have Tillman in one of our leagues, and I'm trying to move on from him to get any running back really. So yeah, good call there. I'm glad we're on the same page with that one. Real quick, since you brought up Kittle, I wanted to talk about a tight end real quick.
Okay.
Taysom Hill on bye this week.
Tight end or quarterback?
Tight end. I mean, he went absolutely to the moon nuclear last
He always
week.
has one of those every year, right?
Or I'd say 2 or 3 of them. And then the next week he'll get 3 points.
Yeah.
His schedule's really good. Our the website I'm looking at right now has Taysom Hill ranked number 4 tight end rest of season. And I actually don't hate it.
I mean, who else are they going to throw to, or run the ball with? Or
besides 3 rushing touchdowns.
It's Alvin Kamara and him. That's the entire offense. Yeah. So yeah, I like it. I don't think he's available anywhere for you to pick up because everyone's already figured that out.
Dude, I picked him up. I picked him up in a league last week because I had Kincaid. Wait, not Kincaid. Who's a week 11?
Kincaid was out last week.
That's what it was. Kincaid was hurt. I picked up Taysom Hill and played him last week and won. And now I have Taysom Hill and Kincaid on bye. So now actually brutal. Get this. They were both on bye, and I refused to roster 3 tight ends. I dropped Kincaid and kept Taysom Hill.
Whoa. Okay. That's interesting.
I'm a believer.
That would have been a tough decision, honestly. I can't fault you for that.
I mean, Kincaid's not been great this year. So
no.
And Taysom Hill offers that week winning, nuclear upside that, Kincaid is just not going to give you. If Taysom Hill gives me 3 points, he gives me 3 points. It is what it is.
I picked up Will Dissly last week because I didn't have a tight end to play, and he crushed it for me. I was like, "This is awesome," and I think he's still going to do well. Like they get your Ravens this week, and the Ravens are known to give up some points in the secondary. So
we can't guard anyone, and Roquan Smith's probably not going to play this week. Yeah,
that's tough. Yeah.
Shit. What was I going to say? I forget. Anyway.
Are you worried about like the Jets just being shut down for the season? Because at this point they should be like taking, right? I'm a little worried. I've got a couple of Breece Hall shares. I know you've got like at least 1 or 2 Breece Hall shares too, and I'm a little worried that they're just like going to go into shutdown mode once they're eliminated, and we're not going to see Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams really do much.
Man, that would really suck.
It sucks for fantasy.
I just bought Devontae Adams in a league a couple days ago for Chris Olave. Just because I don't know if Chris Olave is going to play at all the rest of the year. And I desperately needed another receiver. So that's what I did. That would suck. Jets, for as bad as they are, they have tons of great fantasy options. So I'm more worried about it with the Jets than I am the Bengals.
Yeah,
Because I feel like the Jets just have way worse management, and they would let it happen.
it's bad. It's like I've always loved to make fun of the Jets because they're so bad, but this was supposed to be their year. And man, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if it's the offensive coordinator situation, the manager situation. I don't know.
It's been the
Uh,
defense. It's been the
and and
defense.
and the defense had a great start to the year, and
Now
then
they're
they fired the head coach who was like the defensive head coach, and the defense started sucking. I think they decided I don't want to play. They got rid of the guy I wanted to play for. I don't know, but yeah, the defense sucks. But you've also Aaron Rodgers he had a bad start. He came back last week, and then the defense lost it for him. But
They should not have fired Salah. I mean, they
yeah,
should, if anything, they should just moved him to defensive coordinator or something of the sort. I mean,
they should have kept him and just fired the offensive coordinator.
yeah,
Instead, they fired him and then fired the offensive coordinator later. And I was like, your problem is offense. Like their
yeah.
defense was good, and now they're both just not. The offense is clicking a little more, but even then, it seems to take time. And yeah, I mean, they're at the point of the season where they maybe need to think about tanking for a quarterback next year, right? Like there's some good quarterback options they
Is
can get.
Rodgers under contract next year?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I know I was just looking at it too because I saw that I think both the Steelers quarterbacks are 1 year contracts. I think both Fields and Russell Wilson. So Steelers will have a choice to make next year, um, which I assume they just like re-sign Russell Wilson probably.
Yeah, he's getting up there in age, but yeah, I mean, he's been pretty good objectively.
Yeah,
Hey, so just a really good player that I'm not sure what to do with him because I've seen super mixed reactions. So CD Lamb um, has Cooper Rush now. His schedule's not outstanding. What do you think about him rest of season? Because I'm not even exaggerating. I've looked at a website that has CD Lamb ranked number 1 in quarterback for rest of season, and I'm currently looking at a website that has him ranked number 21. I
I
would
think the
not go as
21
far
is closer. I think he's like wide receiver 2 rest of the season, and he can still do that spike week for you. He can still get you up there just because there's nobody else for them with that kind of talent to throw
did you
to.
say wide receiver 2 or a wide receiver 2?
A wide receiver 2,
Okay.
sorry. So like I think he's probably around 15 to 20 range overall wide
Wow.
receiver. And it sucks. But he doesn't have Dak thrown to him anymore. But he's still going to get peppered with targets. He's going to get huge target share because he's the best player.
And they're going to be losing every game. Yep.
And they're going to be losing every game because their defense is crap. So yeah, I think he's still up there. I think he can still have those wide receiver 1 spike weeks, but I don't think they'll be consistent anymore. So I think
Yeah,
ranking him as like mid wide receiver 2.
yeah, he's kind of the player that is like pretty diabolical with the rankings, just because no one
Yeah.
knows how to react to the QB change. But like I'm looking at this, and they have him. He's ranked below Juwan Jennings. He's ranked below Terry McLaurin, Jaden Reed,
Yeah.
Malik Neighbors. I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah. I kind of agree with most of those.
yeah. I couldn't rank him
um,
below Juwan Jennings. That would be too hard.
the San Fran likes Juwan Jennings. We're just the target share he's getting and everything. He's a buy, I think, right now. If you want to go buy someone, if you can get him for kind of cheap from somebody, the way their schedule is and what they need to win and they're using him a lot. His usage just puts him in that category of I don't know, maybe wide receiver 15 to 17, something like that.
Yeah.
Kind of in that same category right there. So,
Man, I missed the Juwan Jennings window by like a year and a half. I remember when he got drafted and he was a rookie, and we had just started playing dynasty leagues.
yeah.
I had Juwan Jennings in like every league. He was like my sleeper of all sleepers.
Yeah.
And I hung on to him for you hang on to him for like a year or two,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then he didn't do anything, and then now he wants to be Christ. So yeah.
It's a good old Kyle Shanahan situation there.
Yeah.
Ricky Pearsall is a nice stash too. Actually, talking about the Niners, he's a guy who's starting to get more work, in that offense. He's a rookie. We like rookies that are starting to learn more and get better every game. He's like we're talking about like backup running back stashes. I think he's a great like backup wide receiver stash. If something were to happen to Debo, he's immediately thrust into that position. Same with like Juwan Jennings, he's immediately put into that spot. Or if Kittle gets hurt again, we're going to see an uptick in Pearsall's targets. So he's another great guy that he could be sitting on the waiver wire right now in some places because he's not like the number 1 or 2 guy. He's number 3, but he could easily get to a number 1 or 2 guy.
For sure. And while we're talking about the Niners, like I feel like Jordan Mason and Garendo both need to be owned because who knows what's up with McCaffrey, right? I mean, seems to be healthy, but I feel like they've already proved they're taking it super easy on him. So even if he has a tweak of something, they're probably just going to sit him out to the playoffs, right? I would think.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Mason would be the one I think to own between those two, and he should be on every single roster. I have him on one of our redraft leagues, and I wish I didn't right now because I'm going through bike apocalypse and I can't drop him because I'm like I could use somebody else to play, and I'm like putting Jonathan Brooks in my lineup hoping he plays, or I'm just gonna have to start Jordan Mason and hope he like gets a random touchdown. Yeah, that's because like I can't drop him. You can't drop Jordan Mason. Like he could win you the playoffs if something happened to CMC. He could easily win you the playoffs.
No, man, go ahead and drop him. Maybe he'll be there.
Because then you'll grab him. Yeah.
So
Audric Estime, we were talking about. I think you and I were talking earlier about Estime. Estime is a good one to pick up because we don't know what's going on with the Broncos after he had a good week before last. This week he has like barely anything. So and Sean Payton like just lies about what's going to happen. So who knows who's going to get the bulk of the carries, if it's Javonte or if it's Estime or McLaughlin. I don't know. But he's worth putting on your bench in case something does develop.
Agree. I forget what I was going to say. Anyway.
We've also mentioned Braylon Allen on the Jets. That's another situation where maybe they shut down Breece Hall and Braylon Allen all of a sudden gets thrust into this workhorse role to see what he can do. And that could be another league winner in the playoffs.
That's a really good point. Is how many times do you see it championship week and you say Braylon Allen plays week 15 and 22 carries for 110 yards and a touchdown. And they say, he's starting again. He has a good matchup. And then you're sitting here and you have James Conner, who played all year. And you end up playing Braylon Allen and he wins you your league. I mean, this is why fantasy football is so cool. It's not always about, I drafted really good, or I know which players are always the best. You literally have to monitor the situations and just take advantage of it because no matter what, there's going to be like 4 or 5 plays on week 17 that are completely off the wall that are going to hit. And it happens every year.
Yep.
Like was it Juwan Jennings last year?
I think he had a little bit of a blow up at the end of the year. And then I think so. That's another thing too, is you never know which player is going to be that player has a monster game and just like win you the playoffs too. Like it could be a Juwan Jennings, it could be a Ricky Pearsall, it could be, somebody in your last flex spot that goes off for, Taysom Hill goes off for another 40-point game. Or it could be your usual guys. It could be, I think one year for me, Jamar Chase won me this championship because I had him and Burrow and they both went like insane on the championship game. And so you never know.
Jacoby Myers. I think Jacoby Myers did good at the end of the year last year. I also like him a lot this year. He has a really tough matchup this week because he plays Denver and he's their number 1 receiver. He's going to get shadowed by Surtain, which means he's going to have 2 catches for 13 yards. But I like Jacoby Myers a lot rest of season. He's got a great schedule and he's been really good so far. So do that.
Another kind of sneaky defense is Cleveland. They have a bad schedule, but a good defense, and they play against I think they get Pittsburgh again. I want to say I'll double check it real quick. but I think they do get Pittsburgh again, and then just they actually have a good defense for how bad the offense is. Yeah, they do get Pittsburgh again. They get the Broncos next week. The Chiefs aren't a great matchup, but Bengals Dolphins not the worst. So could be interesting if you're desperate.
Gotcha.
And it's halftime right now. Browns up 10-3, so they're helping you out your Baltimore Ravens a little bit.
Let's go, baby. Yeah. What a
pull it off.
Yeah, well, we weren't going to do game recaps, but I was at the game, so I'll give my
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, can we just talk about how garbage of a 2-point call that 2-point conversion was? I mean, what in the hell was that? The Ravens played a shit game all game. They need a touchdown with 2 minutes left. Lamar drives them right down the field. All of a sudden the offense is clicking on all cylinders. They score right away. And then for a 2-point conversion, Tomlin calls a timeout about a tenth of a second before the snap.
I didn't like that. I was like, they're going to give that to him? Really? It seemed like it was after the snap, but I guess it was right before. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like it was during the snap or maybe right before the snap, but the play call looked like it was going to work. It was a QB power, I think, with Lamar following Henry. Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Which also, can we quick talk about why Derrick Henry wasn't on the field for the 2-point conversion? Because
they took him out. They literally
let's take our best offensive player off the field. Like, just his presence alone draws the defense. He could stand in a corner of the field and they would draw 2 guys over to him. Like, I could not understand at all. And I was like, I get like all the credit to Tomlin and the Steelers. Tomlin is one of the best head coaches in football. He's so good. Like, we've seen him. He never lost, has a losing season. Like, it's insane what he does with the Steelers every year. But still, like, you got to put Derrick Henry on the field, even if you don't use him. Like, you have to. What's Justice Hill doing? He stood there and like kind of did a half block. Like, come on.
This is when
that's what pissed me off.
Sometimes it feels like people just overthink it, and when it needs to just be more elementary. And then I also, I'm a John Harbaugh supporter, but I hate when he says stupid shit like they asked him why wasn't Henry in the game, and his answer is certain plays Henry plays and certain plays Justice Hill plays. Yeah. I was like, well, okay, no shit. But
I understand it was a play where they used Justice Hill, but it's
why did you not call a play where Derrick Henry is at least on the field? It's just elementary shit. I mean, it looked like the Steelers saw their play and then they changed to a new play. And instead of running a QB power to the right, they were running a QB like sweep to the left.
Yeah, sweep to the left.
Okay.
And the Steelers like easily saw it happening, and there was just nowhere for Lamar to go. There was no one for him to even like flick the ball to. It looked like he was going to try and just do like a little flick pass to somebody, but there's nobody there.
There's no receivers.
I don't know what. So, it was just bad. It was so hard.
So you run no Henry, no threat of Henry. You run him left, which is a harder way to run for a right-handed or right-legged player.
Yeah.
You put no receiver in the route, and your blockers on the left were Isaiah Likely, who's a receiving tight end, and Nelson Aguilar. I mean, none of that play made any sense. I don't know.
Point, just let Lamar drop back and throw the ball, which is when I saw Justice Hill in the game is what I thought they were going to do. I thought they were going to do some kind of like he maybe fakes the run and then throws, or like Justice Hill does like a little like screen and bounces off of it and catches it, like a little kind of delayed catch there. And then when I just saw them running, I was like, no. I was like, oh no, why? But then even when you see him run, like it's Lamar Jackson, so you're still excited. You're like, he's gonna find a way to make this work. And he started to do like the little flicking motion. I was like, oh, there's somebody. There's no one.
No one there. That's a lineman. Yeah.
Yeah. That was.
Dude, it just. You see the Bills game at the end, and you just see Josh Allen play backyard football, take control of the game, take it to the house. Totally improvise. I feel like that is what sometimes we just refuse to do with Lamar Jackson, and I don't
Yeah.
get it. Like, just let a 10-year-old call the play. Like, let's put in Patrick Ricard. Let's put in Derrick Henry. Let's put in Lamar Jackson. And if you can stop me from getting 2 yards, then you win, bud. But you're not going to. So, it just drives me crazy.
Yeah. That was a big game for the Bills, though. Oh man, that was a fun one to watch. That was
Huge game.
huge win. That was I was reading is like doesn't really have huge playoff implications because both teams are already going into, into the playoffs, and but it's still like it's a big win for them. It's like I feel like it's a giant momentum builder to get that win against Patrick Mahomes to beat the Chiefs. It's like their season can only go up from there, and they were missing key players. Keon Coleman's out, Dalton Kincaid's out. Amari Cooper played, but didn't really do. Wait, no, he did okay, right? He didn't like go crazy. So I'm curious to see how they're going to be going forward because if they get Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid back to get some more weapons, they're going to be a fun team to watch. And
I feel like they've a little bit been flying under the radar.
Yeah.
Which is not like them, right? Usually they're front runners, but yeah, I mean that could have been their peak, right? I mean that could be them peaking. So yeah, scary stuff there. I don't know. I was like almost. It pains me to say, but I was like kind of sort of rooting for the Chiefs because at that point, like I just think like we'll just let the Chiefs
get the number one.
Yeah, get the number one seed.
Yeah.
So it opens it up for the Ravens a little bit. But now the Ravens will have to compete with the Bills for number 2 or 3 seed, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I think for the Bills, it's a big momentum builder. It's the right time of the season to get that momentum going for you. And if they can kind of ride that momentum through the rest of the season, you want to be the hot team going into the playoffs and see what happens. It could be them this year. And the Ravens can still be there too. The rest of your schedule, if you guys can, win some more divisional games, get a good Ravens need like a good blowout. Lamar Jackson goes nuts game, which is coming for sure. Where he has 350 yards throwing and like 4 touchdowns and just like is a beast. He runs for like 70 yards or something.
Well, he loves primetime games, as he proved when he played the Bills on Sunday Night Football.
It could happen. Harbaugh Bowl on Monday.
Yeah, Harbaugh Bowl on Monday. Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough game. Ravens traveling across the country to play on Monday. Chargers are talk about teams that are peaking. Chargers are probably at their best that they've been all year right now. Herbert looks completely healthy. J.K. Dobbins is running good. Quentin Johnston's on fire. Lad McConkey's really stepping up. Chargers look great.
And they're throwing more than anybody thought. The last 2 games, their throwing percentage has gone up. More throwing plays. I think actually that Herbert is a good buy right now if you're looking to buy a quarterback from somebody. I was in this really weird my switchback work league. It's like a 14-team 2-quarterback league, or like quarterback in a super flex league, but you can only have 2 quarterbacks on your team at a time.
Wow.
So like if you're on a buy or something, you have to be like, do I drop a quarterback to pick someone else up, and then I probably can't get the quarterback back, or do I just like bench him and put someone else in that spot? So I got into that situation with Anthony Richardson when they benched him, but somebody had dropped Justin Herbert. So I was like, Justin Herbert rest of the way, baby. And it was right before he started playing good again. He started getting the fancy points. So that's worked out well for me. I've just sticking with him. And he was already past his bye too. So it was like perfect. But the Chargers are exciting. I think Harbaugh's good, right? Both Harbaughs are great coaches. I think we just saw like a weird coach player owner dynamic in San Fran when Harbaugh was there. And
so I got a controversial text that just came in from my Nickel City Mafia group chat. Sorry, you're not in it, Jeremy. I'll have to make a new one with you in it. But it's me, Mike, Tony, Rick, and Jake. And Tony just texted. He must be listening. If the Chargers beat the Ravens, Baltimore's season is over.
I don't think it's over, but it would be. Those are some hard losses in a row there. So
Yeah, I don't think over, but I think the division title is probably out of hand. But it's a tough game. I mean, it's a divisional game, cross country against a really good team with a really good quarterback. I mean, I think it's
And then you guys get the Eagles too right after. I forgot about
we have
that.
a tough schedule, dude.
That is, but then you get the Giants. That's the Giants can be Lamar's like go nuts game if he
Well,
does it on Monday night.
you want to
Uh,
hear a crazy stat? Lamar
yeah,
Jackson has one career loss to an NFC team ever in his career, and it's to the Giants.
dang, so weird.
That is like beats the snot out of the Lions or whoever he plays, but can't beat the. Wait, did he lose to an NFC team this year? I don't think
No, you
so.
guys beat us, and you beat the Bucks.
Yep,
So yeah, that's you're still safe.
one career loss to NFC team. Mm. So
That's pretty
Eagles aren't
crazy.
looking very good. Um, Oh, I had a one specific player I want to talk about. You said well you said Giants. I thought you said Jags.
Oh yeah,
Got me thinking about Jags. A player that I'm selling off every team that I have him is Brian Thomas on Jacksonville. Their schedule for receivers is absolutely brutal. Um, that team is an absolute dumpster fire right now. I mean,
yeah,
god
it's not great.
just god awful. And Brian Thomas, I think, is around wide receiver 12, 13 on the year. I
Yeah,
think you're going to be able to net a really good return for him just by the season he's had so far. So, what do you think in redraft leagues, not dynasty, but in redraft,
yeah.
what do you think?
I missed the trade window in the redraft league I have him in, so I can't trade him away. I'm stuck
Ah,
starting him for the rest of the season. I think he's probably going to be like a wide receiver 3 the rest of the season. He's like a flex play. Um, he could still have some of those boom weeks where he gets a touchdown and 100 yards, But yeah, it's the Jags are rough as an organization. It's just it doesn't look good. Are we thinking Mac Jones is still starting for a while? Like could be worse, but it's for fantasy
I would
purposes.
I would think Trevor will be back after their bye, but
Yeah,
hard to say. I mean, their season's over, right?
yeah. But no, I think you make a good point. It's a good time to load off Brian Thomas. Unless if you're in Dynasty, do not do that because he's amazing and he'll be
Right.
great next year. But for the rest of this year, you're right. It's a tough schedule for them and just a tough offensive situation where it's hard to see him being like that top 12 wide receiver he is right now.
Yep. Agree.
Unfortunately. Let me ask you something. Are you going to the Christmas game in Houston?
I am not. Nope. I'm gonna have
No.
about a 10-day old baby at
Oh,
that.
that's right. Yeah. Oh man, it's coming up, man.
Yeah. So
It's almost
no,
go
I'll be
time.
watching the Christmas game
Yeah.
from the comfort of my couch.
Nice. Should be a good one. I'm looking forward to that. When I
Yeah.
heard it was like Christmas games on Netflix, I was like, "Ah, come on, really? We're gonna see a lot of buffering, I think.
Yeah.
But
Mike
I
Tyson's
was I
butt
was pumped
cheeks.
when I saw that game. The Mike Tyson buffering, which was like not even worth watching anyway.
Yeah.
But no, I'm excited. Ravens Texans on Christmas Day. That's actually a game I want to watch. So I was like, all right, they at least got one good one.
Yeah. Last year we made it happen on Christmas Day, or Christmas night, back to back Christmas games for the Ravens. So yeah, we put the clapping on the 49ers last year. So we'll see. Texans don't look quite as Texany as they did last year.
Maybe with Nico back, we'll see a resurgence of the offense. But um, CJ Stroud just isn't looking like the CJ Stroud we thought he was going to be. And I don't
Yeah.
know what it is. I don't know if it's he's needing the weapons back. He lost
He
Nico, he
didn't have
lost
them last
Diggs,
year. I mean, last year he
which
had
he had,
Nico
and Tank for like half a year, right? Tank went
half of
down.
a year of tank, and
Yeah,
he didn't have Diggs. He didn't
yeah.
have yeah. So he did. I mean, he had Noah Brown, I guess, who kind of did good, but and Dalton
They've
Schultz.
also had Joe Mixon just going crazy, so
Yeah, that's
he's
true.
been really good for them. So that's been a big part of their offense. I think that has let CJ Stroud not have to throw quite as much, which sucks for fantasy because you want to see him throwing all over the place.
I know. I feel like the popular pick in the offseason, myself included, for teams that are just absolutely going to go nuclear would be Stroud and all of his receivers, right? It's
Which
funny 'cause,
we
like,
weren't wrong on the receiver part, right? Tank was maybe the one that injuries had to happen for him to get there, but like both Nico and Diggs were having great seasons until
yep,
they both got hurt.
yeah. And I felt like Mixon was almost like an afterthought. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
he's just a veteran add-on at running back, but they're not going to use him, and he's just number one running back in points per game.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
crushing it. Him and dude, I think so many people slept on Saquon Barkley. He went like in the second round a lot of times, and he should have been like a top 5 pick in redraft. It's insane. I'm sure you've seen that video of like the Giants organization being like, "Oh man, if Saquon goes somewhere else, it's gonna kill me," or it's
yeah,
like, and then I was not hugely happy last week when they beat my Washington team. But also like we're in a rebuild and they're like at the peak of their their team build right now. But after the game was over, all of the fans were chanting "Thank you, New York" or "Thank you, Giants" uh, for Saquon because the dude's a beast. He's so good. It's crazy,
yeah.
man.
What, he's like 27 years old too, so
Yeah, he's
pretty.
still got some good years left. He could be like Derrick Henry, where he just plays. He just keeps going, keeps getting
He
better.
doesn't even look like he's slowing down. I mean, he just did a 4-foot hurdle backwards over someone's head. So I think he's still got some juice left in the tank.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Cool, man. Well, it was fun chatting about
Yeah,
our strategies to make the playoffs and then dominate the playoffs. I think next week we'll kind of get back to our recap, normal recap show, question and answer. But, of course, we'll always be talking about the next steps to make to do well in the playoffs. I'm sure most people's trade deadlines are coming up this week or have already passed or coming up next week. So trying to get those last couple of trades in. Again, we said it at the beginning. If you're in first or second place, you need to buy a player or a good player that's on buy this week. So I think
yeah.
that's probably my main takeaway. Start loading up on defenses and take advantage of your position. You have the ability to throw a week and you'll be just fine. So start with that, and we'll talk to you next week. Anything else?
No, I think you covered it. Good times.
All right, guys. Catch you later. Good luck to all your teams. Bye.
See ya.